It's December 5th, 2019, and as I was praying for Immanuel soon, this is the vision that I got. I saw a ship in the ocean, and the ship was an old ship that was made of wood, and it had many, many sails. And in this ship, I saw you, Immanuel, at the front, and you had been gazing out over the ocean, and you had your hands over your eyes as if you were looking. You know that when you're looking for something, sometimes when the sun's in your face, you put your hand at your brow. And you also had binoculars and were looking and pointing, and whoever was on the ship with you, you had said to them and pointed at the location where you wanted to end up. And then at that point, I saw the ship. It had pulled ashore or docked on the sand on some sort of island, jungle island. And right where the sand met it was the water and then the sand and then almost immediately the jungle, and it was thick, just completely thick jungle. And after seeing this, the location immediately switched, and we were in your living room at your couch with the table in front, and on the table was this toy ship, and it had looked exactly like the one that was real, but it was like a toy. And then you as this little figurine, and you had like walked yourself off the ship like kids would do when they play, except for this wasn't like a kid's ship. It reminded me more of like in old times when they used to use like model ships, and when they were on the ship, they'd have a map laid out, and they'd have little ships on that map to sort of plan out strategy for war and things like that, and battles and things like that. It reminded me more of something like that because you had a paper out and a pen, like a pad of paper out and a pen, and you were sort of making notes, and your facial expression showed that you were figuring things out or deciding things as you had moved your little guy and all this kind of stuff. So it was more along those lines. Well, then, if I was facing you, it would be to the left. This almost like this portal opened up in the middle of nowhere, and a light came through, and Jesus was there, and he was having you come, beckoning you, with his hand saying, "Come, come," and you immediately got up and went. And you went into this portal, and inside this portal was the exact place that I had seen that was a real life form originally. The ship was there, the sand was there, the jungle was there. And when you went in through this portal, you were dressed for a journey through a jungle. And what you were wearing seems to have been important through this vision. At this point, you were wearing like khaki shorts and a khaki shirt and like a hat that was khaki colored, and you had a backpack on. And that was very clear that you were like wearing the clothes for this jungle, and you had button or tie up boots. And so you put your backpack down, and you dug through it, and you grabbed out a pad and a pen or pencil, I'm not sure. And you begin to again look around and write down and monitor everything you see. So you start to head into this jungle, and it is very clear that it's thick. You have to bend down to go under certain branches, climb over branches, twist, turn to fit through. Very, very thick. And at one point, I'm watching your feet, and I see that your foot kind of got caught and stuck, and your shoe came off. And you're standing sort of over all these bended branches in the jungle, and you're standing there, and so you kind of look back, and you grab your boot, and you tug on it, and you finally get it out, and pull it back on your foot, and lace up the shoe. I'm not sure the significance of that, but it was very clear that happened. And at this point, I am watching you travel through this jungle, and the jungle then turns into really tall grass, and this is green, thick grass, and you can't see in front of you, you can't see behind you, you can't see on the side of you, you just are going. And at this point, you had taken out a map, and there was a map in your hands, and so you're walking through this grass, and I see you with this map. And now I see, for a while you're traveling, I see your feet walking forward. And I see then that it changes to where I can see sort of a little bit above you, aerial view above you. And I can see that the map is in your hand as you're walking and looking. And then I see an even higher up aerial view, and I can see that for quite a long ways around you is this tall green grass, almost as far as the eye could see. And then I see ahead of you a little ways is this like deep canyon, like extremely deep. But in this canyon, it's almost like there's mountains inside of it, and like valleys. Like it's almost like this this grass area is above, and when you look down, it's almost like it's just earth. It's just earth. It's everything. It's mountains, trees, snow caps. Just you can see everything. And so fear, actually, I had a physical response to this place and seeing you headed towards it. I immediately felt fear for you, and I just was like, oh no, we know what's going to happen. And it was just interesting that it caused an emotional physical reaction to me while I'm seeing this. I just remember being like, oh no, you're like, what's going to happen? Anyway, so it kind of zooms back in on you, and I see that you have your map in your hand, and you have crossed off a spot on the map, and you draw a line over this mountain range and put an X. And the first X was crossing something out. The second X, after you drew the line, the second X was like a X marks a spot kind of X. And you're like, okay. So then you knew what you're going to do, and I don't know if you put it away, I can't remember or not, but you start heading towards this canyon. And after that, you continue on, and then I watch you go right towards the edge of this canyon, and then you just jump off. And I had another physical reaction where I started to tear up, and I was just scared for you. I have no idea what that was about, but that's just the emotion that came with this vision. I thought maybe you were going to fall. I actually have no idea why I was having these responses. But anyway, that happened. And so you ended up landing on some sort of spiritual invisible path, road, whatever you want to call it. And I could very clearly see that your shoes had changed. They were now red shoes. And you began to walk on this invisible faith path. I don't know what to call it, but I could definitely tell that it was ground. It wasn't physical ground, but when you landed on it, it was an actual something you can stand on. Like you weren't walking on air or anything. It was an actual spiritual path. And you just began to walk on this path. And I could see that this journey over this canyon was very long. And in the vision, I sort of had to sit and wait for you to walk on it. It wasn't like anything else was going on but me watching you walk. It was very in purpose to show me that this was a long walk. And so you're walking, and you're carrying this bag, and you're still in your jungle clothes, but your shoes have changed and they're red. And then your countenance changes. You start to have sort of like a little pep in your step to where you are confident. That was very clearly what it was. You had a confidence about you. And then after the confidence came a joy. And then after the joy came, your clothes changed. And they changed into an army uniform, which I had seen you in a different vision before that I've shared with you. And it was like the hard hat, that you wear, and the army outfit was just like the camouflage type. And your backpack changed, and it was like one of those ones that have like now it was bigger actually. The backpack was even bigger, and it had like a sleeping bag, like the bigger one that carried more essentials. Anyway, and so you continue, and you're now in this outfit. And a lot has changed now that you're in this position. And then you stop in the middle of this path, and you actually had a gun slung on your arm, and you take your gun off, and it has those stands hooked to it to where you can like lay down with a stand and have the gun shooting. And so you lay down with your gun, and you got whatever you were looking for in your sight, and you began to shoot. You began to sort of shoot at your enemy and protect and do what you had to do there. And so you were there for a little while doing that. And afterwards, you had done that for a while. And then afterwards, you got up and you slung your gun back on your back and you started to walk. And then you actually made it to the end of this spiritual path. And before you was like a galaxy, like up above in the earth. And at this point, you took off all of your army clothes. You took off, unzipped, took off your coat, took off the backpack, took off everything and left it. You didn't have anything on that you had originally had on. And now you were just in regular clothes. You had a black shirt on, a pair of jeans, a pair of black shoes. Just like it seemed like an everyday casual outfit that you're wearing now. And you walked up to where this galaxy was, and this might be difficult to explain. It was almost like you swiped. Like when you have a phone, you know what I'm saying, a smartphone, and you swipe left, you just kind of swipe and it changes the picture, and you swipe and it changes the picture. That's the best way I can describe it. You swiped away this picture. It was like a constellation. It was like stars and constellations. And you swiped it because it wasn't what you had come there to see and find. You swiped again, and then you swiped again. You saw it, looked at it, studied it, and knew that this wasn't the one. You would swipe it away. And then at this point, I don't know, 3 or 4 swipes, maybe 4 later, you see this constellation, and you think to yourself, yes, this is it. And then you removed it like a page in a book or in a notebook, and you just took it out and you removed it. And you put it, sort of rolled it up and put it in your back pocket. And then you took all the constellations that were there, like some sort of book, and you rolled up a big roll and just sort of moved it aside. Like rolled it to the side, and it just was rolled to the side, all rolled up. I mean, not necessary to look at, not necessary to go through it or anything. You had the one that you had wanted. And then the next thing I saw is that you had come back home. No. You turned around and began to run back. That happened. You had the thing in your back pocket. You were in the clothes that I said you were in, and you began to run quickly, fast, ran. And so you ran quickly, and you ran and you ran. And then the next thing I saw was that you had come back to where you were at in your home. And at this point, you took out this constellation page or whatever, and you laid it out on your table. And again, you had that determination look and that like studying look and that look of like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And somebody was with you. Maybe it was John. I don't know. And you were like pointing and talking and teaching. And he was on one side of you, and on the other side of you, Jesus was there. And you were teaching along with Jesus and through Jesus. And he was teaching with you and through you. And it was clear that you were both like pointing things out, talking it through, and discussing it. And that was the end of the vision.